What's up, Bleach fans? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk, and today I am here with a very special guest. He is a voice actor who is best known to fans as the voice of Con from Bleach, as well as Dr. Riddles from Victorium in the Zatch Bell series, as well as being part of the Marvel DC animated universe. My Life as a Teenage Robot as Sheldon Lee, Animaniacs, Robot Chicken, Stuart Little, and as Timon from Timon and Pumbaa, as well as being part of a whole range of video game series such as Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid, Kingdom Hearts, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. Please welcome the amazing Quinton Flynn.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in love with Simon Hanna in a heterosexual way. What an introduction, man. Thank you so much. I was even amazed listening. I'm like, who is this guy? He's done a lot of stuff.
Well, not that much, but thank you. Yeah. and thank you so much. And how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. This is wonderful to speak to you.
It's absolutely fantastic to speak to you as well. Thank the world for technology.
I know, right? It's
absolutely.
Amazing. It's like we're right down the street from each other.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. So, on to the first question. How did you get started in acting?
Well, I started as a kid. As a child, I guess in grade school. They gave us acting exercises, and I just took to it. I remember at the age of 8, I was obsessed with impressionists on television, and so I started doing impressions of impressionists' impressions, and that worked really well with, what would be considered character acting. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I had that keen ability to not only reproduce voices, but people through acting. And I know I started out as a drawing as a child, and I used to, as everybody, as a kid, you just draw freehand, but then sometimes you try copying things, and I had quite a skill. I was very adept at being able to copy things, and I think it just is probably the same kind of muscle, but then it came out through my voice and my face and my body.
Right.
And then I took off in acting in high school when I started doing plays. A buddy of mine said, "Hey, let's audition for the plays," and we were about 14 or 15, and I said, I don't know. I'm kind of scared. I don't know about that. This looks like a big jump because we're up there with kids 2, 3, 4 years older than us. That's a big deal at that time. And I said, why should I do this really? He said, well, my brother does it. He's having a great time. I said, great time. He goes, there's chicks. I said, I'm in. So
that's fantastic.
And yeah,
Right.
The girls were great, and once I hit the stage and I did my first play with an audience, I just had the bug, man, and I knew I had to do it forever, and that's what I've been doing.
That's fantastic. And was that the particular point that inspired you really to go into acting? Like, who was it that really, who or what inspired you really to go into acting? And who would you say are your biggest acting influences?
Well, the greatest direction and support I ever received was from a man that only local people in the suburb that I grew up in Ohio, outside of Cleveland, would know. His name was John Zuhay, and he went to Miami of Ohio University. He was a brilliant director, coach, and teacher at our school, and he had the keen ability to be able to take kids from all walks of life. It didn't matter what age, size, intellect, or interest. He brought everybody together and was able to put together these masterful plays. We were really blessed. And it was because of him that I had the ability, I would say my ability grew with his direction, and my confidence grew through it. I mean, he was incredible, and he could also be very harsh, but he had a big heart. So you always knew that he cared.
Right.
And so he was my biggest inspiration there. on a personal level. And as far as, a professional level of other actors who are inspiring, I would say combination of Jerry Lewis, Gene Wilder, Peter Sellers, and the Beatles.
Wow, right, that's fantastic. And
which all, of course, there's the crossover of music, comedy, and a bit of drama.
Right, yeah, absolutely, that's definitely true. And with, did you ever get the chance to meet, like, as you mentioned about before with Jerry Lewis and Gene Wilder, did you ever get the chance to meet them both? Like, any of your biggest acting influences?
I never got to meet Gene Wilder, which is very unfortunate. Although I did get to speak with Mel Brooks, who did all those marvelous movies, 2 or 3 of which Gene was in. And
Right.
Jerry Lewis, I got to meet at a book signing he was doing. So I spoke to him from a microphone in the audience, asking him questions, but we didn't get up close and personal. And
Right.
he was very funny and very quick, and I learned from him quickly how to navigate an audience by watching him move quickly and in such an adept fashion and a skilled way of being smart, being kind, being informative, being funny, and also being sharp, witty, and terse when necessary. And that actually gave me a gift for when I went on tour doing the convention circuit. I picked up so much from him by watching him in this Q&A, question and answer panel. I thought, wow, that's how you do it. It's a combination of. You've been to conventions before?
Absolutely, yeah? Yes I have.
Okay, and you've probably been to a fair share of question and answer panels.
Well, actually, a bit of an interesting story there. My very first convention was about 3 years ago. Was when I went to Supernova, which is what we have here in Australia. That was the very first convention I went to. But to be honest, though, I've actually never been to any of the panels at any of those conventions. I've usually just the guy just to go meet the guests and then just walk out. But I have watched videos of like panels where they answer questions and stuff. The guests talk about like their stories and such. Like when they talk about doing the Marvel panels, the voice acting panels, all that sort of thing. So I've seen videos on those panels before. So yeah, but I've personally never experienced them live. But I have been to Q&As before, and they're amazing.
Yeah, some of them are, some of them are okay, some of them are good, some of them are great, some of them are rubbish. And I always try to bear in mind, okay, these people are here because some of them want to go into the business, some of them just, have questions about what did we go through in a process. Some are specifically fans and want to get closer to their heroes, just as I have. And so I do what I call infotainment.
Right.
And I bring it all together with beginning, middle, end. I make sure I cover everybody's questions, but I play with them as well. I improvise. And we'll do impressions and characters and just, kind of run with the room. Sometimes I've actually run around the room physically. So not only did I pull from Jerry Lewis, but I pulled from Robin Williams and the late, great Don Rickles as well. Give the people a bit more, because I've been on some panels with some other actors where they're just dry as hell, boring, where I'm sitting there thinking, just shut up, please shut up. You're killing me, you must be killing these people. And when I see people looking down, I go, I know.
Yeah, right.
But that's also part of the play and the fun too. I'll pick people out from the audience, and of course that sometimes people like it, but generally it's the last thing they want to happen.
I can definitely picture that as well. I can just picture you I can definitely picture you at a comic convention, because to me, from all of the roles you've done in the past, you really have that physicality, sort of like the physicality, that really humorous, like over the top type of comedic timing, and that's obviously inspired a lot from Robin Williams, Don Rickles, like a lot of the great legends that have, as you said before, with like Jerry Lewis, Gene Wilder, of that combination of music, the physicality, and the comedic timing they have. They're just taking that comedic edge and just like taking those characters that they played and just pushing it right to the edge and such. And to me, that's amazing in that sense.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I mean, it's, as I said to some people, they say, how do you do it? And I said, well, I guess sometimes I do it, and sometimes the character actually does me, takes me over.
Right.
It's an interesting combination. It's something that we all played, as I say at panels, as children we all played, and when we play, we all used our imagination, and we said, okay, we set up some game, and oftentimes we were playing, kids were playing different characters, so you just went into it. You didn't ask, what's my motivation?
Right.
There was no time for motivation. It was like, you're the good guy, you're the bad guy, go.
Yeah, just let your mind just go wander. Just let your mind wander, basically.
Whether it's, okay, I'm Luke, you're Darth, you're Leia, you're Han, you're Chewie, go. So, and that's what you do, right? So,
absolutely.
What I say to people when it comes to acting is play. Give yourself the freedom to play, which is something I think scholastically it was always taken away from a lot of us, because as we had to do harder lessons, recess disappeared. At least that's what we call it here in the States. Opportunity for play.
Right.
And it was all about work. So what happened? We were not given the permission to play anymore. So now I say you have to give yourself permission. And the more we do that in life, you have a better life in general, and in acting, you have a better experience.
Absolutely, and that's definitely very inspiring indeed. But you have to. That's basically the same thing when you're growing up, like in life and such. You obviously when we're kids, we're basically acting as children, and as adults, it kind of feels like we lose that like touch of childhood that we once had. But we have to remind ourselves, it's okay to act like a child at heart, act like a child trapped inside an adult's body or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that in a sense. I definitely agree with that. Now,
yeah,
absolutely. Now, going into like with the acting and such, do you go through any particular vocal warm-ups or rituals before you start recording sessions?
I don't. People ask me what do I use? I said water. Really, just room temperature water is about all I use. And if I have a very harsh video game session, that's when the hot tea and honey comes in.
Right.
But aside from that, I don't. I probably no, I shouldn't say I should, because I have a style and a method where I know what I'm doing. But there's many singers, and perhaps there's other actors you might speak with who do warm up, and it's probably a good idea. But I just don't. I just kind of roll with it, and generally, it comes from, since every session is different, I don't quite know. We don't know where we are when we start, but by the end, we know where we are and what we've done. And if it's a video game character, oftentimes they'll, at the end of the session, they go, okay, let's go back to the first few lines. Let's listen to those and make sure we're in the same place we were. Or they might say, hey, you're really warmed up now. Would you mind trying these lines over again?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's fantastic. And what was like your first voice acting role?
Good question. Hard to remember. It was probably a commercial that I can't remember, because that's what I booked in the early days. But the first animated, let me think. I think the first animated role or animated series I did was called The Fantastic Four, and I was the voice of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch.
Yes, fantastic.
From the Marvel Universe, yeah.
That's fantastic. And I've got a question about that, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But going into the animation universe, you've played a variety of characters across your entire career. But
yeah.
What was like your favorite character and series to work on?
Well, gosh, that's tough. I would say the two characters I was the most excited to play were Spider-Man, because he was my all-time favorite as a kid growing up. So I played him in Marvel's Ultimate Alliance video game, and I got to voice Speed Racer for a Geico commercial that they did in the U.S. And, I loved Speed Racer as a kid. So those were two big victories for me as a voice actor, just for, like, childhood dreams. But as far as characters in a series, the Around the World with Timon and Pumbaa was very fun. When I got to play Timon, and that was just great fun, because we did a load of those. You mentioned Victorine and Dr. Riddles from Zatch Bell, which you're one of the few to mention them. But I love those characters. It was such a strange universe in which they lived. But Dr. Riddles was so fun, and he was such a prick, if I may say that. Victorine, of course, was a strange character, a man in the shape of a giant bee, who sang a song about melons. And it was, which if you've never heard it, it's a very strange song. We don't know what the Japanese had in mind when they sent that over, but here's this man juggling, melons, and so I sang a song about melons. Who knows why he was obsessed with them?
I do remember that character, and I do remember that song from Zatch Bell, of course.
Do you?
Yes,
Very melon.
And yeah, it was definitely, but Zatch Bell was definitely a really fun series, which I'll get to in just a second. But as you mentioned about with Timon and Pumbaa, how did you end up getting to play in the series, and what was it like playing the character and playing in the series?
Interesting, yeah. I'll tell you what happened. Nathan Lane originated the character in the Lion King movie, and when he booked it, he and another character actor, Ernie Sabella, were doing Guys and Dolls on Broadway. And when Nathan was brought in, he said, hey guys, do you mind if my friend Ernie here plays Pumbaa off of me so we can do this together? Because we got a good thing going. So they did that, and the Disney folks were wowed. That's how they got the job. Then when they started doing the animated series, Nathan had done a number of episodes, but he booked the film La Cage aux Folles, I believe. The Birdcage. Yeah,
the Birdcage.
The Birdcage with Robin Williams and Hank Azaria. So he had to leave, and Disney said, wow, we have to find someone who can not only sound like Nathan, but can nail the characteristics and mannerisms of Timon as he created him. So I went through a process. There were at least 100 of us actors who auditioned, and it went from 100 down to 25, down to 8, down to 3, down to me. And I'd probably done one series before then, so it was a big deal. I was excited, and a bit scared at the time as well, because it was big shoes to fill. But I had a lot of fun playing Timon and his cousin Monty, and I did numerous incidental characters on the series, which unfortunately I never kept track of, and neither did they, because they didn't go up on IMDb. So someone, I'm sure, someday will sit through every episode with a keen ear and figure out all the additional characters I did. The fans are better at it than I am.
That's fantastic, and I'm sure you would have got to meet Nathan Lane before getting the role.
Meet Nathan?
Yes.
No, I didn't. He was, like I said, he was doing a film, so he was gone. I mean, the way things happen in show business, it's furious. When they need you, it's when we need you now, or we need you yesterday. And then when we, the actors, are looking for the work, it's hurry up and wait.
Right.
And the closest I got to meeting Nathan was this past October on my birthday.
Oh,
I was
wow.
I was in New York City for New York Comic Con, and it was actually my birthday, the 10th of October. He was playing in a play that was to go to Broadway called The Front Page, along with John Goodman and Robert Morse and a couple of other well-known actors. So I bought myself a ticket, and I took myself to the show, because I thought I'd never seen Nathan Lane, on Broadway. doing a show, and this will be my gift. And it was wonderful, and he was brilliant. Then after the show, I stood outside. I didn't know, because I haven't spent any time living in New York, so I didn't know the theater scene. I didn't know what happened afterwards. But I was kind of outside the line watching people, looking for the actors to come out and take pictures and get autographs. And as Nathan was coming out, I kind of moved over as quickly as I could to say hey to him, congratulate him, as he's actually being escorted to his car by a security guard. And, he said, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Great job. By the way, I said, as he's getting into the car, Nathan, I had the opportunity to take over your role as Timon for the first season of Timon and Pumbaa, and it was a real joy and an honor. He's like, thank you. So, he really didn't quite hear me, but it's okay. I have no doubt someday I'll run into him, and we'll have a chat.
Absolutely.
And depending on his mood, it'll either be wonderful or something else.
That's fantastic. And speaking about, of course, with Nathan Lane, is like you also voiced another character that he voiced in the past, Snowbell, in Stuart Little the animated series.
That's right.
What was it like doing that role and being in the animated series?
That it was okay. It was good. I'll just be honest. Maybe I don't think most actors will be dishonest, but I will be. The problem I love doing. The problem I had is with the director. Usually, I don't know if it was the director or the producer. I don't know whose opinion it was, but when they get into trying to push me in certain ways to quote unquote sound more or less like the character,
mm-hmm.
that was annoying for me, because I thought, look, I've got the role, I've done the work, I know this character inside and out. So what I will say is, it was a great experience, as I love acting in pretty much everything I've done, and everybody I've worked with. Again, including writers, directors, producers, all the actors, engineers, assistants, you name it.
Mm.
But in a circumstance where an actor is replacing another actor, doing an impression of the other actor, and inhabiting their character, it can be very delicate when one is being directed, if the director doesn't have the skill to say things in a certain way in which to get the performance they want, rather offend the actor, which that happened in my case, and it was annoying, and I wanted to tell him to fuck off.
Oh, wow.
So, sorry about that. Sorry about
no,
the
that's fine, that's fine. No, that's perfectly fine. But, like, speaking about, of course, with the animated series of Stuart Little, like, the most notable thing that I noticed about with that series is that it got some of the cast members from the film itself into the series itself in some way or another. Like Hugh Laurie, and I know Michael J. Fox also did the live-action sequences of Stuart. Did you ever get to meet any of the cast from the film? I mean, aside from meeting Nathan Lane, like very briefly and such.
No, not at all. I honestly, I don't. Did Hugh do the animated series?
I actually thought that he did, because I remembered reading it somewhere, thinking that probably reading somewhere that he might have done the voice for George, for like the husband in the Stuart Little animated series, but maybe I must have misread that somewhere.
I don't know. If he did, I might have met him for 5 minutes, but
right.
Michael wasn't there, and if he was doing it, they recorded him separately.
Mm.
And I know it sounds strange, but I don't remember much about the rest of the cast. We'd have to look it up, and then if you read the actors and actresses' names, I would know.
Right.
For sure who was there.
Right.
But go ahead.
That's okay anyway. That's all right.
No, but it was great. Again, it was like, boom, I get to be Nathan again, so it was cool.
And that's the positive thing, and that's the main thing. So, and another character that you've been best known for is Sheldon Lee from My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Yes, Sheldon, of course. I love Jenny, but she doesn't love me.
What was it like doing that series and playing that character?
Oh, I loved it. It was a dream. It was also wonderful because there were two other characters I got to play. Silver Shell and another character named Don Prima, who was a prima donna. So I got to not only be the regular Sheldon, but this metallic superhero, Silver Shell, who he created to help Jenny and to save Jenny. And I think Sheldon thought that through doing this, he would then get to be her boyfriend. That didn't happen. Don Prima, of course, was very arrogant and self-absorbed and would talk to Jenny any way he wanted to. And of course, Sheldon didn't have the confidence to be able to even do that half as much. So he was lovely, a lovely guy to play, who had a great heart and was put upon, but also just, I don't know, he had a sweetness about him and a lot of fun.
Right.
And he actually, I based him on Jerry Lewis. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Bringing it back to Jerry Lewis, because Jerry Lewis, when, he played kind of that, especially with Dean Martin, like, hey, Dean, what are we doing? I don't know, kid, where are you going? Oh, Dean, I want to go with the girls. Go get him, Tiger. That is Jerry's little character.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Jerry's, Jerry Lewis's character, and I turned him into Sheldon. I just aged him up a little bit, and I kept him right in here talking to Jenny.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
I did mention that to Jerry when I was at the microphone at the Q&A book signing.
Right.
And he thanked me. He did, actually, briefly. He was like, thank you. Next question.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But I will say that what's easier to do is characters like Sheldon that I've got cast in, that I've created myself.
Right.
Like Axel in Kingdom Hearts, or Raiden in the Metal Gear series, or Reno, where fans have come up to me and they go, boy, you know what, you really sound a lot like that character. And I say, yeah, there's good reason for it, because it's largely me.
Right, that's fantastic.
Kind of like with Nathan. Really, Timon is so much Nathan. And, that's why Axel is so much me. Reno would be the sarcastic me. And would be more of the serious and then intense, angry, sometimes, crazy, going to chop your head off me. But no one is saying to me, Quinton, can you sound more like Quinton?
What is Quinton? That's the question.
What's that, buddy?
It's like asking the question. Well, a question with answering that question with another question is like, what is Quinton Flynn? Like, it's like 1,000 different personalities mixed into one guy.
Yeah, you're right.
That's basically it right there. And speaking about, of course, with Sheldon Lee, with My Life as a Teenage Robot, what kind of storylines would you have wanted to go into? Have the series have continued on, like into further seasons?
Gosh, I don't know, honestly, because Rob was so great, with what he came up with. I couldn't even track where he was going. I just was fascinated by every script that came along,
right.
And I was, basically along for the ride.
Right.
In fact, a lot of fans said they were disappointed that it only ran 3 seasons, and there have been many people hoping that it would be brought back around.
Right.
And why it hasn't, I don't know. In fact, I don't think it had a proper ending.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it didn't have a very big resolution in a way, but we're already starting to revive like a lot of cartoon series now. I know that there's rumors going about that they're going to be reviving the Danny Phantom series at some point.
Oh wow!
Yes, and they're doing now Samurai Jack season 5, as a way to finally resolve the story of basically Samurai Jack and such. So fingers crossed that My Life as a Teenage Robot gets a revival series.
I would love it. That would be terrific.
That would be fantastic.
I've heard Rob interviewed before, and he's been kind of vague about it, and he's always said, I don't know. He said, I wouldn't be opposed. So
never say never. That's what
never
they all
say
say.
never, yeah.
Absolutely.
And we had a wonderful cast, Audrey Wazalewski, Candy Milo, why am I blanking on Jenny? She's a doll.
Janice Kawaii?
Oh, Janice Kawai.
Yeah, Janice Kawai, yes.
Yeah, she was a doll.
Yeah, they're all fantastic.
We had so much fun.
Absolutely.
And as in all of these other animated series, or anime, but mostly animated series, where it's an ensemble, when I'm a regular, I've had the opportunity to work with some terrific actors and actresses that I grew up enjoying, like Tim Curry, Andrea Martin, Mark Hamill, and I can honestly say Mark is he's an acquaintance, or I could say Mark's a friend. He's a really terrific guy, and he loves cartoons. He loves comic books, and I've had the pleasure of his company many times and working with him, and he's just a great guy, super humble and super fun.
That absolutely, and speaking about, of course, with Mark Hamill, all I can say is that fingers crossed that you end up getting to play in a Batman film alongside his version of the Joker at some point, because that would be fantastic.
Oh God, I would love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And other shows that you've worked on in the past, before we get to the comic book stuff in a sec, is you've also voiced in Animaniacs, as well as Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Mickey Mouse works as the mouse himself, as well as Johnny Quest and Robot Chicken.
Yes.
What was it like doing all those shows?
Great. I mean, guesting on stuff like that, it's kind of like, when you're a guest star, you got to come in and you got to knock it out, and you're kind of pinch hitting, as it were. I remember with Animaniacs at the time, the show Friends was wildly popular, so they called the episode Acquaintances, and it was a parody of Friends. So I did the voices of Ross and Joe, and so that was great fun. With Billy and Mandy, I did multiple characters on guest spots, but the one that was the most fun, director Chris Zimmerman had me in because she cast me as there was a snake who was an attorney, and she loved my Christopher Walken impression. So I did Christopher Walken as the attorney in that particular episode. It's crazy. Judge, you're out of order. And, so that was great fun. I got to work with Richard Horvitz, who's a real good pal of mine. And Mouse Works, of course, Mickey Mouse. And let's see, what were the other two you mentioned? Johnny Quest.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Johnny. Come on, Dad, we got to go find Haji. Where's Bandit?
And in that series, I did all of season 2, and season 2 aired 30 years to the day that the first Johnny Quest aired in 1966. Yeah, ours aired in 1996. And I got to work with some wonderful character actors in that: George Siegel, Ed Asner, the late George Kennedy, and an actress who at the time was a complete unknown that I told the casting director, you must have back, a young lady named Lucy Liu.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that was before she was seen on TV's Ally McBeal, and then before she blew up into a movie star.
Yeah, absolutely, that's fantastic. It definitely, it definitely kind of reminds me of this story of with Donald Glover, who is best known in Community as well as in several other series right now, as well as about to be in Spider-Man: Homecoming, where he got his start. How he got his start in Community was when the Russo brothers, who are best known for directing a lot of Marvel movies, had.
Oh yeah, well they're actually they're from my hometown.
Oh wow. Yeah, they basically had said to the director, the executive producer of Community, said, cast Donald Glover in one of these roles because we have the vision he's going to be a big star someday. And he did just that, and now take a look what's happened to Donald Glover. He's become one of the biggest stars in the world right now. So
Wow.
yes, it's very. So I can definitely that story you were telling me about with Lucy Liu in Johnny Quest, where the experience that you had playing with alongside her in the series, where you said, all right, get this woman back on here because I've got the vision she's going to be a big star someday, and before you know it, boom.
I know.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, she was. I just said she's excellent. That she is fantastic, and there's something about her I just really like. And I had no idea. Yeah, of course. Boom, she went on, and like the Russo brothers, who are actually from my hometown. We went to the same church a number of years apart, growing up, same neighborhood, and I met them at a movie screening about a year ago. Actually, a year and 2 days ago, we met after a screening, and as we were chatting, it turns out they are Metal Gear fans.
That's fantastic.
So when they found out I was riding, I was like, "You're riding? Oh my god!" It's like, well, yeah, you're the Russo brothers, so maybe we can collaborate.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic. And I've actually got a question about that, which we'll get a little bit to later on. But one of the other series I mentioned, which is Robot Chicken, which you've been a constant guest star on that show since for like a very long time. What's it like working on Robot Chicken?
Oh, it's wonderful. Seth Green and Matt Seinrich, I forget how you pronounce it, created the show. Seth is the director, does a lot of the acting in it. He is a real actor's director, probably because he's a great actor himself. And he has a shorthand and a method to get a performance out of anyone and everyone who walks into that room. And I love working with that guy. I'd do any project with Seth anytime.
Absolutely.
I always had fun. I've always had fun in every character, and I've gotten to do a lot of great impressions. The most fun I had was the episode in which I played Elmer Fudd in a parody of Eminem's 8 Mile, where I had to do a rap-off with Bugs Bunny, and Daffy Duck was a DJ. And Seth, and this is true, he loves rap, and he loves to rap. So he was directing me from outside the booth, as all directors do, but at a certain point he came in the booth with me to work on the rapping part with me.
Oh, wow.
It's enough to do an impression of Elmer Fudd, but then on top of it, to rap like an authentic rapper when you're Elmer Fudd is a challenge. Because he does have that skill, we were able to bring it together and realize his vision. And you can go onto YouTube, just look it up.
Absolutely.
It's great. It's really funny. It's great fun.
I will definitely be sure to check it out. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I love those guys, and I go back anytime. Their humor is great, the parodies are great, and it's never ending.
That's fantastic. Now going of course into the comic book world, as you mentioned before, you played the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four series, but you also played Malekith from Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes.
Venom from Spider-Man: Friend or Foe. Oh, sorry, you were going to say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You also played Venom in Spider-Man: Friend or Foe, as well as Banshee and Abyss from X-Men Legends: Rise of Apocalypse and the Batman Arkham franchise. What was it like stepping into the comic book world?
Yeah, and also I played Arcade.
Oh, yes.
Another villain. The comic book world is great. I mean, again, it's so much fun. I'm so glad you've done your homework. So I think I've done 7 Marvel characters. 5 of which were villains? Wait, no. Is Malekith?
Yeah, Malekith
Marvel
is
as well.
Yeah, he's Marvel. He's a Thor villain.
You're right. So Malekith, Arcade, Banshee. Abyss, and Venom, 5 villains, and then Spider-Man and Human Torch, 2 heroes. So yeah, I've got to do 7 characters in the Marvel universe, and then I did get to play that villain in Arkham Origins, Alberto Falcone.
And
so, sorry.
Sorry. It also listed down that in the Batman Arkham franchise, in Batman Arkham City, you were also the voice of Nightwing.
Yeah, I think I hate to say this, but I don't believe I was.
Yeah, because
I'd like to take credit for it, but I want to say it might be Lauren Lester.
Right. Yeah.
Or someone else. I only say Lauren because I was watching an animated thing where he was Robin, and Lauren's a friend of mine, terrific guy, great actor, and I listened to the voice that was coming out of the character's mouth, and I said, God, that sounds like me. and I thought, wow, maybe, the thing about Nightwing, me playing Nightwing, someone gave me credit for it, and I thought, perhaps I played Nightwing and I just don't remember it. That's possible.
Right, because
but then a number of other people wrote in and said, no, that wasn't one. So,
right.
I don't even know, what was it from? Was it from a game? Or?
I was from the Batman Arkham City game. But I think I remember that I don't actually remember hearing Nightwing speak in the Batman Arkham City games, and I played the game before, but I don't think I remember hearing Nightwing speak in any of at any point in the games. I thought, but who knows exactly? But
that might have been me doing mime work.
Probably, but but who knows exactly? But what was like your favorite comic book character and project to work on?
Jeez, that's kind of tough. Well, like I said, my favorite comic book character growing up was Spider-Man. I would have liked to have had more of an opportunity to develop him in an animated series, because the Spider-Man I grew up reading in the comic books was very sharp, very witty, very sarcastic. Really the only kind of a stand-up comedian superhero. With wit, and I mean the stuff that would come out of his mouth, you're like, wow. So I'd say I would love to have had an opportunity to play Spider-Man in a series where the producers and writers really understood, that edge that he had, instead of playing him as in some of the films. He sounds like a kid. It's like he sounds more like Spider-Boy.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound as edgy to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I know that kind of didn't quite answer your question, but I loved playing him, and I loved getting to play Venom, because it's, two guys who do battle with one another. It's the dark side, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And because that's essentially what Venom is. He's basically the reverse of Spider-Man, the dark aspect of him, really.
So, I got to, on some conventions, I used to bring, I don't bring so much, but I would bring photos of 8x10s of me as Spider-Man and Venom doing battle. Because to show people, like, well, which one did you play? I said, both.
Wow.
I said, which is amazing. I said, apparently I'm either psychotic or I like playing with myself.
Right.
So, and don't we all?
Don't we all? That's fantastic. And of course, you also played in quite a few films as well, but particularly the one that really stuck out to me the most was Paul McCartney from A Hard Day's Day and My Dinner with Jimmy.
That's right. Hey, it's very true. You've done your homework,
yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
What was it like playing obviously one of the members of one of the greatest rock bands of all time? And did you ever get to meet Paul McCartney or Ringo Starr at some point?
It was a dream come true, because I've been a Beatles fan forever, and I have dreams in which I was one of the Beatles. So I did get to play Paul, you're right, in both those films. And I also did Paul for a Jimmy Kimmel episode. That was a voiceover. I also fooled Paul's management when we did a radio interview in Cleveland, where they were waking Paul up in Los Angeles on tour, and somebody in the Cleveland area from his management team heard the interview at the radio station, and they were very upset. They called them and they asked, "How did you get Paul's number, and why did you wake him up?" And they had to come clean and say, "No, it was actually actor Quinton Flynn." And unfortunately, the guys at the station were crestfallen because they thought they had spoken to Paul.
Oh.
But so in all those wonderful experiences I've had, maybe I've played Paul McCartney more than anybody else. I have not yet met him. I would love to. I've seen him live in concert 3 times. He's phenomenal. In fact, I took my 82-year-old mother, Judith Flynn, to see him in July in Cleveland, and she was in heaven. And Ringo I've not yet met, but we did get word, the writer-producer Dave Kessler and I got word that Ringo saw A Hard Day's Day and loved it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic there. So, fingers crossed that you get the chance to meet Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr at some point. Maybe even work on a film together with them at some point, or a project at some point.
I would love to. And, God knows there's enough stuff going on about the Beatles. I think it's about time someone did some kind of movie about McCartney, and if the stars align, perhaps I'll get to play him.
Absolutely. Now, moving across into the world of anime, what was like your first voice role in an anime series, and what was it like stepping into the world of anime?
Well, what was my first role in anime? It might have been, I don't know if it was, I think it was Initial D considered anime, or no?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, Initial D. There was also a show, was it called The YY Family?
I think so. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, way back when. And there was another one before that where I played a superhero. The name of the series escapes me, but Initial D, Naruto, Digimon Data Squad. And of course, Blood Plus, in which I played the Phantom, Carl.
Right.
Which one was the first one, I don't remember. I just know that going back over the years, I've worked with producer-director Jamie Simone quite a lot. And, so the earliest stuff I seem to remember was Initial D as Shingo Soji.
Right.
I believe is how I pronounce the character's name. And, anime was a different thing for me. I didn't understand it. I guess I understood it in as much as when I got in there to do dubbing. Growing up, that's how I thought you did cartoons. I assumed you dubbed to picture, But with original animation, they record us, and then they animate to our voices later. Whereas, of course, with a finished Japanese series that's brought over to America, the writers have to rewrite the entire episode and series, and then bring in actors such as ourselves to put on headphones, read the lines in the script as we're watching the scene move or roll, and fit the words into the mouths with the proper energy and acting so that it seems as natural as possible.
Right.
So that is the process. I know you didn't ask me, but that is the process, and it's very challenging, but for those of us who I have found are musicians or musical, it's a lot easier. And many voice actors happen to be musical.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's fantastic. And one other anime series that, of course, that you've also been best known for is the voice of Kon from Bleach.
Yes, of course. Yeah, he's mad.
What was it like playing the mascot of the series?
Oh, I love it. I mean, because I get to be, he's kind of a little turd, isn't he? I mean, everybody everybody else is kind of, in their normal, well, it's not a normal world, obviously. It's a fantasy world, and it's fantastic. And here he is, this little plushy lion who looks more like a bear to me. But he is a lion, and nobody stops for a moment to say, hey, this is a talking plushie. It's not only that, they're fine with him doing whatever he does, and I loved being the mascot, and going into those little rants, and trying to be the hero and not quite succeeding, and trying to hit on Rukia and some of the other girls, of course, generally getting the stuffing kicked out of me. Literally.
Well,
And but I love it. I mean, I love Cone, man, because whatever Cone does, Cone says whatever Cone says. He wants to do what he wants to do, and then ow, stop hitting me! Ow, come on, I can help.
That's definitely true. That's really true.
He's too much fun. I haven't met anybody who doesn't love Cone, so I'm a happy camper.
That's absolutely true. And I'm currently watching Bleach right now at the moment. Right now at episode 55, of course, and it's been going for such a long time. And in fact, they've just recently finished the manga storyline. I think just before I think they finished the anime storyline. I think at some point, and with regards to anime, like with Bleach or with any anime in general, do you have to read the manga to prepare for that certain series, or is it just walk into it and just voice the character?
Yeah, we walk in and we voice the character. We're actually not giving any. There's no time to prep when it comes to dubbing in anime. So what happens is we'll go in the booth, and the director, who oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes is the writer, they know exactly what's going down in the scene, and they'll say, okay, page 47, line 98, here's what's happening. And then they explain it, I read it real quick, and then we hear a series of beeps in our headphones, and we run a rehearsal pass that sometimes is recorded, because sometimes we get it right out of the gate, because we're so used to doing it. And then other times, we would then run it again. And usually it doesn't take more than 2 takes for me to pick it up.
Right.
But it's a fascinating skill. Like anything, like any muscle, it gets stronger with use. And it's a strange kind of multitasking thing that the brain and the mouth and the body does with the great direction of whomever is behind the glass and explaining the scene.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Fantastic. And another character in the series that you worked on as well is Naruto. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name to any fans out there.
Iruka Sensei.
Yes, that's it.
Iruka Umino. Iruka Sensei. He is the sensei. He's the sensei to Naruto. Naruto!
Yeah.
Naruto, if you do well, I'll take you out to get some rum.
What was it like playing that character and in the Naruto series?
Wonderful. Again, the nice thing about him is, as I've heard from fans, he's a mentor. He cares a lot about Naruto and the students. He's a role model. Of course, Naruto can drive him crazy, and those are the times when he loses his cool and he yells. But when it really comes down to it, he's a pillar of strength. He's got a great heart, good mind, and a good soul. And so it's an honor to play him in the same way it's an honor to play Axel.
Absolutely.
And they both those characters have a lot of love in them, and I think that's what draws the fans to them. Their humanity.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And what was your favorite Naruto series to work on? Was it working on the original Naruto series, or the Shippuden series, the sequel series?
Probably the original one, because I believe I had more time on that. But I did there were obviously there were times during the Shippuden series that were extraordinary as well.
Right. And going into another anime series that you've worked on that we talked about just a bit is Zatch Bell as Dr. Riddles and Victorian. What was it like doing this, working on Zatch Bell?
That was really cool because the director was a friend of mine, Jeff Nimoy, who is an excellent director. He's an excellent writer, terrific actor, just one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. Emmy Award winner. And he and I actually were on tour together 8 to 10 years ago doing an online series that came and went called Adventures in Anime.
Right.
And in fact, we went to Supernova together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
what year was that?
That was like at least 8 years ago, maybe longer.
Right, yeah.
But I am coming back in July twice this year.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be in Adelaide, and then I will be in, oh goodness gracious, is it Queensland?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And I don't know the geography, and I haven't looked at the map, so I don't have any idea how far apart they are. But I do know that the conventions will be both in July, and I don't want to touch anything on my screen to look it up because I'm afraid of losing you.
That's perfectly all right. But
you know, fans can go to my Quinton Flynn Facebook fan page, and we will start listing the dates because you know, I can't wait to come out and get to meet the gang because it's been, like I said, at least 8 years since I've been to Australia, maybe longer.
Right.
I made a great friend there in Mara Lee. I'm just giving her a shout out if she ever hears this. But back to your specific question, doing Zatch Bell was just brilliant. Just brilliant. And Victorine was that character in this shape of a giant V. I never figured him out, except the way I played him was kind of heroic. But you see, the lines he had were somewhat stupid. So I found him to be he almost reminded me of, oh God, The Tick. Do you remember The Tick?
Yeah, maybe, I think so.
Okay, well, The Tick was a superhero in an odd universe, and he wasn't the brightest bulb in the bunch. And I would say that of Victorine as well. He was as heroic as he could be for a guy who was as simple as he was. And Dr. Riddles, of course, was very witty, dry, and nasty, and kind of snarky to Kiddo. I always felt bad for Kiddo. But you know, because he'd set him up with something. And Kiddo, of course, was so naive, he'd say, "Really, Dr. Riddles?" And Dr. Riddles, of course, would say, "Kidding!"
Yeah,
Kiddo
I definitely
say,
remember
"Oh, Dr. Riddles!"
That's fantastic. And speaking about, of course, with Zatch Bell, and as you were mentioning about with Australia, I actually got to meet Jason Spizak, the voice of Keo, at the AMC Expo, which is another convention we have in Australia. I think that very same year, when I went to my very first Supernova convention, and I asked him, you know, will we possibly get to see like more English dub versions of the episodes of Zatch Bell? Because they stopped at a certain point. He said, I'm not so sure. Who knows exactly at that point? But I mean, yeah. But but he's basically now confirmed. Well, he's basically said, I'm coming back to Young Justice season 3. So if that can happen to me, maybe we can get more English episodes of Zatch Bell up. But what do you personally want to see with Zatch Bell? Like, would you, if you ever got the opportunity to do more English version episodes of the series, would you be up to that opportunity?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the characters, and I love working with Jeff.
Right.
You know, as long as they bring back Jeff, because he's just a great writer. He's so quick, and you know, the opportunities that we had together in studio would also be to sometimes improvise and collaborate, and things would pop up during the recording that might be fun or funnier, and so, you know, we would get to do that together. And I would have to say, overall, that's the one part of the equation I haven't touched upon, but every episode of every show or video or anime or commercial or any acting project I've ever done, it's all a collaborative effort where people come together and make something wonderful happen. It's a we thing, it's not a me thing, but my experience is uniquely my own. However, I couldn't have gotten as far as I've gotten without all of these other people, from the first director I told you about, John Zuhay, to my comedy pal, Jeff Nimoy.
Fantastic. And just talking a little bit about Australia, as you were talking about, your first convention was Supernova 8 years ago. What was your experience like the first time you went to Australia?
Oh, it was wonderful. The flight was incredibly long, but Australia is beautiful. The people are wonderful, and we had a lovely time there. Trying to think, did we do Melbourne and Sydney? Well, you would know. Let's see. What does Supernova cover? Which cities do they normally cover?
Well, I do know that Supernova does cover a lot of places in Australia. I know Melbourne is one of them, Sydney's one of them, Adelaide's one of them, Perth, Queensland in general.
Yeah.
So I know it covers those places there.
We might have hit Perth then, but I remember going to, was it the Opera House?
Yes, the Sydney Opera House.
Okay, yes. So then we did Sydney, I was right. The Sydney Opera House was incredible. And they were so kind to us. They took us on tour around, and we had an opportunity to stay, actually, and Jeff put this together with some friends of his. We stayed on a little island, and I don't even remember the name of it, but it was some kind of a wonderful little getaway where we walked out in the water, and we could have walked out for up to a mile, and the water was still at our ankles. I've never seen water so blue in my life. The people are fantastic, just as you are.
Thanks, man.
And I just, I've always thought, gosh, I hope I get to come back someday. And here, right now, negotiations are happening for me to come over twice in July.
That's fantastic.
Of this year. I mean, so I'm going to be over there. It's what? I'm like, what? Twice? Same month? Oh my God.
That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
I'm just trying to picture right now, because as you know, in Australia, like, we've got some pretty strange types of food here. Like, we've got, of course, the iconic type of cuisine that we have in Australia is like kangaroo, Vegemite, Tim Tams and such. And I'm just trying to picture, like, what one of the characters you played, like either Con or Timon, would say if they tasted like Vegemite or something.
Yeah. I think Conan would probably say,
Veggie, mate. More like veggie week. This is veggie mush.
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God. I'm gonna eat this paste. Call it paste.
yeah, that would definitely be true. And I've actually got a bit of confession to make. Here's that. I mean, I've lived in Australia ever since my entire life, of course, ever since I was born and everything. But, I can't stand Vegemite myself. I just think it's disgusting, basically.
I would say it's an acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste, yes. And I'm sorry to be insulting to any Aussies out there that are listening, and to my entire country. I'm so sorry.
Yes, and we're just taking the piss, or taking the mick.
Taking the Mickey right out of it.
Taking the Mickey. I mean, that's what we say in Ireland, so I don't know what you say in Australia. Taking the piss or taking the Mickey?
Well, whatever.
Well, you know what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah.
But going on to some other roles that you've done, you've also done narration for like several live action TV series as well. What is it like doing narration compared to voicing characters?
Well, it's a completely different experience. There's a series I finished. I did 3 years on, called "I'd Kill for You" on the Investigation Discovery Channel, the ID channel. And with that, unlike the characters where you really you bring life to the character and you're in the forefront. As a narrator, I am supporting the scene and the story is unfolding before you with the beginning, middle, and end. And in this narrative, with this voice, there are times where I will have to, it's musical in a different way, but I have to support an accent where proper. Sometimes there's a cliffhanger at the end before a commercial break. Sometimes I have to be, soothing and calm. It really, acting is acting is acting. But in this case, you have to find the subtleties to give just the right amount, depending on what's going on, so that you enhance the scene instead of stepping on. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And how would you rate narration on a difficulty scale from say from say Malekith all the way up to Venom?
Wait, say that again.
So how would you rate narration on a difficulty scale in voicing from obviously referencing some villain characters you played in the past, from Malekith all the way up to Venom?
Difficulty in, what do you mean narrating them? I'm not sure.
So how would you rate it on a difficulty scale from say well, let's just put it in numbers. So let's say, how would you rate it on a number scale from 1 to 10?
Yeah. If I had to narrate as those characters?
No, how would you rate it? How would you put narration on a difficulty scale in terms of getting to do narration compared to voicing characters on a scale from 1 to 10?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I don't know. They're kind of apples and oranges, really. Because Venom is...
That Venom is in here, and there's so much.
There can be strain on the voice. And then Malekith, there's a little less. 1 to 10, gosh, compared to narration. I would say, again, apples and oranges, two different categories, but the thing that they all have in common is once you get into your rhythm, once you become that person or that character, even when I'm doing the narration, I am a particular guy, even though it's me, telling a story in a particular way. And once I find that rhythm, the level of difficulty disappears.
Right.
And because there is a flow and I'm on a series and I get used to doing it, the difficulty of doing a narration series for 3 years like I did compared to doing Venom for one appearance in a game, even though it's the whole game, I would say it might be more difficult to do Venom once.
Right.
As opposed to a series.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Right.
It's more challenging because you have to do the work, nail the character, give it everything, and please the producers to give them that final product in 1 day or 2.
Right.
Top. So you don't get to live in the skin that long. And that's why I'd say with voice acting, and I've heard this from a lot of our fans, and many people I think would agree, it's one of the most challenging acting genres there is, because we do have to get in and sometimes get out really quickly with economy. And also there are times when we're doing an animated series where we are, especially for guests, asked to do up to 3 characters.
Wow. Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. That's
like when I guested on Scooby-Doo, and I played 3 characters, and it was a particular episode, I wish I remember the name, where there was a band that kind of came back from the dead. They were a zombie band, and I played the lead singer, I played the band's manager, and then I happened to play a doctor medical facility,
Right.
and it was great fun. But a great challenge to come up with 3 different character voices on the spot.
That's fantastic. But going now into the world of video games, what was it like stepping into that world?
Well, it was interesting. The first character I did in a video game was a guy named Mr. Fossey, and that game was... I know there's a fan out there yelling it right now. Wait, Monkey Island, I think it was. Something Island. It's not Whiskey Island. Is it Monkey Island? It might have been Monkey Island. Look it up on IMDb, folks. Let's get those phones ringing. Everybody call in.
Yeah, be sure to leave questions below, guys.
There you go. I know what'll happen. I'll remember it after we end the interview.
That's no problem.
But yeah, I played this character, Mr. Fossey, and now at the time, there weren't really any video games with actors in them.
Right.
Games were games, right?
Mm.
So we had to kind of learn the system and the method, and that wasn't too difficult. But what was more difficult was doing Raiden in the Metal Gear series, Metal Gear Solid 2, back in 2001, because at the time, I remember David Hayter and I, he was Snake, and we were sitting there and we had to follow what looked to be like vibrational frequencies on a screen, and there was a certain amount of time in which we had to provide our dialogue.
Mm.
And it was just very odd and unusual, as opposed to dubbing,
Right.
So that was weird. But we didn't know, again, back at the time, video game voice acting was a new thing. And Mr. Fossey, again, I think it's Monkey Island.
Right.
I want to say that was like in that might have been 1997.
Right.
So that was 20 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And 20 years later, everybody... video games are as big, if not bigger, than many motion pictures. Some of them come out and they'll trump motion pictures in a weekend. They'll do 2-3 times the business. And of course, now they're, as we know, in the last number of years, because of CGI, there's a huge crossover of video games and motion pictures and the experiences that people have. And it's anybody's guess what it's going to look like in the future.
Absolutely.
But I really what I would love to happen, and I'm grateful to people like yourself, Simon, is to have the media be as excited and interested about those of us in the world of voice acting as they are in the on-camera or stage actors. I shouldn't say stage actors. I should just say on-camera actors for TV and motion picture, because they don't do much in terms of coverage with theater actors or voiceover actors.
That's exactly that.
Yeah. To get on board and bring us on some of those chat shows and have a good time. But it's guys like you that bring us to the audience that is out there that understands it. Because I've had people say to me, "Well, I don't understand what you do. What is voice acting?" And I said, I got to tell you, there's a whole universe of people out there who know exactly what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And I said, it's an incredible experience. It's such a gift to do what we do, and it's an honor to be able to speak to you, someone who knows what we do and knows my work so well and has done his homework. I'm gobsmacked.
That's absolutely no problem at all, Quinton. Thank you. Now, but I absolutely agree on that in that sense. And that, I've noticed that in terms of voice acting and such, with voice acting with animation in general, it's kind of like almost somewhat like the area that's like sitting down in the corner somewhere, as opposed to like the bigger stuff, like the on-screen camera and the live action stuff. And like you notice, like in like at award ceremonies, for example, you hardly notice like a category placed just onto animation. Maybe with like the big motion picture sort of stuff, like Pixar, Disney, Toy Story, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like straightforward voice acting animation, there's hardly that sort of thing happening, except maybe for the Audio Video Awards. I think they have in America.
Yeah, they do. They've got a couple. Yeah,
and also the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which they have sometimes as well. But I definitely agree on that. But I know in animation they have something called the Annies. And
then there's a video game award. I received 2 awards for 2 BTVA awards behind the voice actors, and one was for best lead for male in a video game series for Raiden in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Right.
And then I also received a BTVA award for Axel in Kingdom Hearts as part of the best acting of cast series for a video game.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So, that's an honor.
Absolutely. Now, going, of course, into some of the roles, into the video game roles you've done, obviously you've mentioned about with Raiden from Metal Gear Solid. What was it like doing that series?
A joy and a journey, because he changed radically between Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 4, and then he really came into his own in Rising Revengeance. And I got to work with some terrific actors and actresses. And Chris Zimmerman, who originally cast and directed me in the Johnny Quest series, also was able to cast and direct me along with the producer's vote of confidence as Raiden. So she and I have worked together on many projects over the years, and I just love her.
Right, that's fantastic. And another series that, of course, you've mentioned quite a few times, 2 other game series, is Final Fantasy as Izaru? I think it's pronounced. Yeah,
it's
that's correct.
Either Izaru or Isaru.
Right.
In Final Fantasy, and then Reno.
Yeah.
And then I did notice, I was looking at my IMDb credits the other day, I believe there's another character I played whose name escapes me.
Yeah. And you've also played, as you've mentioned quite a few times, Axel from Kingdom Hearts. What was it like doing those game series?
Well, terrific, really. Yeah, the Kingdom Hearts series, it's another vibe entirely. It's a little more, I don't know how to say it. It's a little more of an intimate drama for me as Axel. I mean, and sometimes he has to tear it up a bit, and the nice thing is I get to have a sense of humor in that as well. I get to be a bit of a badass when it's necessary, but I can also be warm, loving, and kind. Whereas with Raiden, who's kind of a world-weary, war-torn cyborg ninja, he's pretty staid as a character. And when he's Jack, but when he's Jack the Ripper, then look out, man.
I can just picture that right now.
Now it's time for Jack to let her rip.
That's fantastic. And 2 other game series you've also played is and been part of for a long time, and currently is the Crash Bandicoot series and Sonic the Hedgehog as Silver the Hedgehog. What's it been like playing in the world of Crash Bandicoot and in the world of Sonic the Hedgehog?
Well, it's funny you mention that. I actually, Crash Bandicoot was fun because what I remember most about it was being the announcer, and I based him on a legendary American TV sports announcer named Howard Cosell. So I got to play him in Crash Bandicoot, and it was a great time. And of course, Silver, is great just because he's got great energy, and he's a little fist cutter, as my dad would say. The fans want more of him. That's what I keep hearing. Give us more, and I say, hey, I'm here.
Absolutely.
That's not up to me, but I love it, and yeah, I'm always ready for more.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And outside,
what is it? I think his hook is it's no use. Yeah.
Fantastic. And outside of voice acting, you also did a 3-track record. I read across on your Wikipedia page a 3-track record called "Puzzled Yesterdays." What is
Yes.
that? What is that about? And how did "Puzzled Yesterdays" come about?
Well, I've been in bands since I was 17 and doing covers, other people's music, rock and roll, pop. And when I was in Los Angeles, I started writing songs in a couple different groups I was in. So I took 3 originals that I had recorded and that were produced for different pop rock compilations and put out a 3-song EP. One of the songs is "Puzzled Yesterdays," the other is "Miss Right," and the other is a song called "Billy."
Right.
And it's a great little sampling of what I do, and I'm a real melodic music head. The Beatles pretty much are my jumping off point, and then anything else that's melodic that's been related to them since the 60s kind of weaves its way into what I do.
Fantastic.
So the songs are all inspired by different stories, different situations, and like many other songs, they have to do with romance or love gone wrong or what people are hoping for. A bit of an inner turmoil, angst, and they're all 3 very different. "Puzzled Yesterdays," the song is kind of a pop ballad. "Miss Right" is like definitely an upbeat rock pop ballad. It's kind of a cross between the Kinks and the Knack. And "Billy" is a bit of a surreal journey, and even though it has a masculine name, it's about a woman, and it's got there's a little bit of a Pink Floyd section to it in terms of influence. Although anyone listening to it would say, "This doesn't sound like Pink Floyd." No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's influenced by it. So there is more of that to follow. I'm currently writing some original music with a friend of mine named R. Scott Vaughn, and I'd like to put out an album. So
That's fantastic.
It's music side of me.
That's fantastic. And like as you mentioned quite a few times, we're talking about with your story with the Russo brothers, saying you want to see like Metal Gear Solid turned into a film or TV series. Is that like kind of the one project? Like, what's one project that you've worked on? Would you want to see turned into a live action film or TV series?
Well, I think Metal Gear.
Absolutely.
For sure. But knowing Hollywood, they would definitely go with. Unfortunately, they would probably go with a different actor than me for Raiden, unless it was, unless they decided, let's have Quinton Flynn dub him. Not likely. But if they put me in the film for a character that they thought I would do justice to, then that would be great.
Fantastic.
It's just like I think what it's like is like it's kind of like sports. Everybody plays a particular position, and even though I played Raiden in the video game series, from the voice acting standpoint, when it comes to the on-camera world for television and motion picture casting, that's where they're going for a visual. So they don't say who can we hear in this role. They're like, who can we see in this role?
Right.
And I think fair enough, if they put me in the in the correct outfit, I could be that man machine. But someone would really have to say, someone with a huge amount of power and money would have to say, let's take this man who's known in the voiceover world, but is an unknown in the world of on-camera celebrity, and give him a shot. Now, so that's a real long shot,
But even if not playing like the main character itself in a series, fingers crossed you get to make a cameo in it if they ever do a live action version of the Metal Gear series.
Oh yeah, that I would love. Maybe
Absolutely.
you get to play a scientist, or Warmups, talking to Raiden on Kodak, part of the team. That would be great.
Absolutely, that'd be fantastic.
I'd love it if David and I both had that opportunity.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's so true. And what as an actor, what would you say was like the easiest role for you to play, and the most challenging role for you to play as well?
Oof, that's a tough question. Easiest role for me to play? I don't know. Hardest role for me, the most challenging role for me to play. Boy, I tell you, I'm drawing a blank, buddy. I really, I don't have a clue right now. I would say the most difficult role for me to play is the one in which a director says to me, just be yourself. And that has happened before. And that's, I would say this, and this goes back to something you brought up earlier, with all the characters and voices I do, who is Quinton Flynn? Or what is Quinton Flynn? And that, finding out who I am and who we all are as people on this journey in life, especially for a guy like me who's slipped in and out of characters and can do that with great ease, I have, on my journey, been working on finding out what is my authentic voice, who am I? And instead of disappearing behind these characters or within these characters, how can I just be me, Quinton Flynn, as this character? And when someone says just be yourself, I've finally gotten to a place in my career where that can happen with great ease. So
Right.
Flipping your question around, saying at one time in my life the most difficult role to play was Quinton Flynn. Today, he's the easiest role.
Fantastic. Wow,
And that's the man you have talking to you right now.
That's fantastic. That's the perfect answer right there. And what's like one character or series that you've ever wanted to play or ever wished that you played?
Well, I've always wanted to guest on SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, yes, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I just wanted to guest on it. I don't know. There's not a character there I really wanted to play, but I love Tom Kenny. He's a lot of fun, and so is Lori Allen, and she and I played brother and sister on the Fantastic Four. She was Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, and so she's on that series. So that would be fun. What else? I love Archer. Unfortunately, I think they recorded out of Atlanta, but I'd love to guest on Archer. I think that's a great series, very funny, and I'd love to work with the guys from. Besides the Russo brothers, I'd love to work with the guys from who do South Park.
Oh, yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be amazing.
Right?
That
Trey
would-
and Matt, and I know if we started working on something together, we would have a ball.
Oh,
So I have the same. I enjoy their sense of humor, and I do think I have a lot of the same. I know I have the same sense of humor because I've said things many times where people have said, "Okay, that was really inappropriate." Even today, when I didn't ask, "Oh my gosh, what's our audience? Are we going live? Am I allowed to curse?" If I have and I've screwed things up, I'm terribly sorry.
No, that's no problem at all, man. It's no problem at all. And of course, final question: what do you think
Yeah.
Con would say if he was in Australia?
Cone?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is unbelievable. These kids are so hot. These dudes are so cool. I can't even handle it. The competition's too fierce. They're telling me to chill out. Shut up. What? Oh, come on, give me a chance.
Oh man, that is fantastic. I could definitely picture him saying that, right? Saying that if he was in Australia.
I think they would tell him, "Look, you're going to have one, maybe two beers to relax because you're talking too fast and you're too uptight."
That's fantastic. Quinton Flynn, thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Oh, thank you, Simon. It's been an honor for me too, my friend.
That's
All the best and God bless.
That's no problem at all. And anything you would like to say to the fans, particularly in Australia?
I'm really looking forward to seeing and meeting you all when I come in July. And I want to thank you so much for all of your support, for all of your kindness, for your interest. And, just go to my fan page on Facebook. There's a Quinton Flynn fan page. Follow me on Twitter. And, again, it's hard for me to fathom we're actually having this conversation. I'm getting an opportunity to connect, with you and your fellow men and women of your country in Australia. It's a real gift, and the fact that I have fans there blows my mind. So I'm just grateful for all of you, and I hope that you will follow your dreams and live a life of bliss. And may we meet one day, may our paths cross, and may you all have a wonderful day or night, depending on what time it is when you listen to this.
That's fantastic advice. Thank you so much.
You bet, pal.
And if you guys want to find out more about Quinton Flynn, as he said, you can check out his fan page on Facebook, Twitter. Check out all of his links, which will be down below in the description. And don't forget to subscribe down below to HannaTalk, as well as follow my links in the description as well. And remember, if you guys have any requests for any interviews you want me to do, anything you want me to review, any bonus stuff, leave them below in the comments as well. Thank you guys so much. This is Simon and Quinton Flynn signing off. See ya.
Cheers.